Hey, what's going on, guys? Just want to say thank you for clicking on today's video. Just a couple quick things before we get into it. What you're going to watch today is just one conversation that we got to have with two young Muslim men. And it was a great conversation. Seeds was planted. But I would ask, please genuinely say a prayer for these two young men, because after the camera shut off and we was talking to them a little bit more, they actually accepted Bibles from us. They wrote down chapters that we was telling them to read about in the book of John. And you could see that they was genuinely interested and curious about the things we say. So please pray that the Spirit of the Lord would draw them and that they would come to the revelation of who Christ truly is for themselves. And also just want to announce on here that on this channel, I'm going to be posting some new podcast episodes that we're going to be having. It's going to be called the God Chasers Pod. Our first guest that we're going to be having is my youth pastor growing up, now my assistant pastor, Buddy Young. Very, very excited about that. It's not going to be a weekly podcast. Might post it once a month. It might be once every 2 months, just whatever, we feel led to do. But looking forward to that. Going to still be posting witnessing content. So I just ask, please pray for these young men. If you like, subscribe, share this with a friend, comment onto this. And I pray that you would be blessed by today's video.
So let me ask you this. I would assume from the being Muslims that you guys would say that Jesus was a prophet, but you don't believe how we believe that he was God, right?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, so the only thing I would ask is, you've studied the Quran, and the Quran, if you're familiar with it, is I don't know exactly where it says it, but the Quran affirms the Bible as revelation from God. It says that the Injil is in the Torah, yes, exactly, was revelation from God. But here's the one thing I would portray to you. You seem, how old are you, sir?
I just turned 18 like 3 days ago.
That's wonderful. That you're searching out. A lot of young people don't even care about religion. They don't even care about where they're going or anything like that. But I would tell you this. The Bible was written, the Gospels was written around 60 to 90 AD. The Quran was written around 600 AD. So there's a big time gap there that teaching didn't exist, and that teaching. So the only thing, the scriptures that I would love to tell you is that scriptures, the Muslims would say that Jesus doesn't say the words, I am God, worship me. So people say, well, he isn't the Son of God. But let me ask you guys something. Do you guys believe that Jesus is the Messiah?
I think he should answer this because he's more Messiah as in Messiah.
Yeah. You would say, cause you that's a pretty consistent,
We say the Messiah, son of Mary, yeah.
Yes. But the one thing is the Quran doesn't say, Jesus doesn't say in the Quran, I am the Messiah. You believe it because the prophets say it. You believe it. Yes, yes, and we believe that the Word of God is the same thing. But all I'm saying is the standard that a lot of Muslims hold, and I want to know, I'm coming to you guys as brothers, not the debate. Is I want you guys to know is a lot of standard that people you see on TikTok, they'll say, Jesus doesn't say the words, I am God, so he clearly isn't God. But my argument would be, is he does say it in ways that they would understand in the context, okay? What do I mean by that? He talks about before Abraham was, I am. Would a prophet be able to claim pre-existence before Abraham, I'm so sorry, before Abraham years and years ago?
Well, we believe that. I think he's referring to a talk we had with another Christian this evening. He mentioned this verse from the Bible, and what we believe is that to meet the vibration of the I am, sort of like meeting the higher bow next to God, angels. You gotta be so righteous and have the vibrations that meet the higher bow. And by the statement I am, that refers that he was so close to the higher power. God.
Let me ask you this. Would a prophet be able to say that I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life, and no man can come to the Father but through me? Is that something that you guys think a prophet should be allowed to say?
No.
No, Jesus says that. He says, I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life, and no man comes to the Father but through. And I'll tell you, here's the conclusion I would love for you guys to come to is this. Either Jesus is God or he's a maniac. What do I mean? That's a harsh statement to say. But if you read Jesus' teachings, he clearly claims to be God. So it's either he's God or he's not. There is no middle ground. You understand what I'm saying? Because
that is true, and we believe that Jesus is a prophet, but the statements that you're mentioning, we do not believe in their existence, as we believe that the Quran is the truth word of God.
Yeah.
So
well, no, but if you're truly a Muslim, you gotta believe when the Quran says that the Injil is previous revelation from God.
The original.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not the.
But do you know what? But you do know that there is not a book in the world that is more historically proven to be true than the Bible. Have you guys ever heard? Have you guys heard of the Dead Sea Scrolls? Okay, this is awesome. The Dead Sea Scrolls was found in, I believe, the year 1940 or 1950 in a cave by the Dead Sea. And you know what they found in those caves? Is they found original manuscripts from the Bible, of Isaiah, of all these amazing things. And you know what they found? They was dated by around the year 300 AD. So that's 300 years before the Quran even existed, and it's only 150 to 200 years after the Gospels was written, okay? And they found this, that verbatim, almost word for word, the Bible we have in our hands today is the Bible that they had in 300 AD. So here's the dilemma that I would love for you guys to just, listen, I appreciate you guys taking your guys' time, that you guys ain't trying to say no, like it's a hard thing for somebody to tell. I've been raised a Christian, you guys are raised Muslim. It'd be a hard thing for somebody to shake me off of my faith and tell me what I believe in is incorrect. But let me tell you, I love you guys. I want to see you guys in heaven, and I believe Jesus is the only way. But I'll tell you, go back to those Dead Sea Scrolls. There's nothing that we have in the scriptures today that isn't what the original writings were. And I would ask you this, just to use like your mind thinking here. Galatians 1:8 is a Bible verse, okay, that Paul the Apostle wrote. And he wrote this, he said, if I or an angel come to you bearing another gospel message different than the original message, don't listen to him.
And it's going to be cursed by God or something.
Exactly.
The curse of God would be upon you.
Exactly. So I would ask you this. What do you think of that 600 years later, this supposed angel come to Muhammad, and for one, it doesn't even seem like a real angel encounter, that he was trembling and he was shaking. You know, when we read about angel encounters, they bowed down in reverence. You know, he had a fear upon him. But I would even say, what would you think that 600 years after, this man suddenly has a revelation that totally contradicts everything that Jesus Christ himself said? You know, so here's the mindset I would love for you guys to think about. Jesus clearly claims to be God. I could sit here all night and tell you guys divine claims. If you guys want, I can keep going on with them. I could tell you that his own disciple got down on his knees and he said, "My Lord and my God." If you was just a prophet and somebody worshipped you, wouldn't you say, "Get up, I don't accept that"? But he blessed him for that. And the last one is this. Have you guys ever heard of the Daniel 7 prophecy? You guys familiar with that at all?
No.
Okay, so Daniel 7 is an Old Testament prophecy. So you know the Old Testament. Oh no, that was one of our guys. Hey, thank you for looking out. So
I was just confused on why you just thought of it.
we thought somebody just stole our camera, but we're good. So the Old Testament is before Christ come onto the earth. I believe Christ always existed, but before he was come in the flesh, right? In Daniel chapter 7, the prophet writes, he said that I seen one like the Son of Man. And I want you guys to remember that word, the Son of Man. And he come to the Ancient One, which is the Father. And what it says is that this Son of Man received dominion, power, glory, a kingdom. And it says that this Son of Man was worshipped and his rule was forevermore. Doesn't that sound like whoever this is talking about, that it would be a divine person if you're receiving worship, if you have an eternal kingdom and dominion? You know, wouldn't you guys say that sounds like a divine person that it's talking about?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's okay. Listen, I'm not trying to trap you guys. Yeah.
You can answer.
Hey, listen, I'm not going to trap you guys. We're just here. So, Jesus says to the Pharisees, he claims, if you read through the Gospels, you've probably seen that term. He says, "I'm the Son of Man, and the Son of Man must be lifted up." And you know what they did when he claimed to be the Son of Man? They grabbed stones. Blasphemer, because they know what he was claiming to be, that he's the divine one, that he is God, you know. And I pray that you guys would wrestle with this. I know that you guys have been raised Muslim, but read Jesus' teachings. He clearly claims to be divine. So here's the issue. The Quran affirms the Bible as true revelation from God. There's 4,000 original manuscripts of the New Testament. You're not going to find a more historically accurate writings in the New Testament. Jesus claims to be God, and the Quran affirms that that is the Word of God. So here's two conclusions. If the Bible is right, the Quran is wrong. And if the Bible is wrong, then the Quran is wrong because it affirms that as revelation from God.
The Quran truly affirms that the Bible is revelation from God, but we also believe that the Bible have been like sort of tweaked in a sense, and there's no like original transcript of the Bible that we can or Christian can follow originally. Yeah. But in the case of Quran, the Quran has been memorized since it was revealed to Muhammad and till today. But in the case of the Bible, we believe that it's been tweaked and there was a lot of transcript to the Bible that it has been tweaked from its original message. But at the end of the day, what does the Quran and the Bible teach us? Follow the commandments of God, follow God, make God your priority, and repent from sins and everything else.
And that sounds so good, and it seems like you would say from the outside watching, well, it sounds like we're close, we're trying to live in the same principles, but here's where it comes down to, is Jesus says, I am the way, I'm the truth, and no man comes to the Father but through me. And I want you to know Jesus is the door into everlasting life. And I want you to just think about this. Again, if the Bible has 4,000 original manuscripts and the Quran wasn't written until 600 years after, and we have writings from the year 300 AD that show word for word that what we have is the truth, doesn't that sound like a bit of a cop-out to just try to say, oh, well, it's been tweaked? If that's been tweaked, the Quran's probably been tweaked. You know, I believe that God has a way of keeping the message, keeping the words that God, let me ask you this, if you believe that the Bible, and this will be I want to ask you guys this, and you guys affirm that the original Injil, maybe you might not say the Bible, but the original Injil was revelation from God, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think God would let that revelation just die and get twisted, or do you believe that God would allow that to be maintained?
Of course, God would prefer that to be maintained.
Yes, exactly. See, so you see what I'm saying? I pray that some bells would maybe start clicking.
Quran has been through trials of like tweaking Quran, but Quran has been memorized to it. Start to finish, so it couldn't be tweaked. I don't know if there's like that's the case for the Bible, and the Bible has been memorized too. But
You understand? Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you got to realize that these religions are so big that if God really inspired the word, He wouldn't let it get corrupted. You know what I'm saying? And I believe you believe that about the Quran, but this is something, if you guys have probably heard, it's called the Islamic dilemma. You guys have probably heard about it. And it's basically summed up in this. And this is a problem that Islam cannot answer. If it is previous revelation from God, and the Bible that we have is true, then the Quran's false, because the Quran says that Jesus didn't die on a cross. There's direct contradictions. There's things that, that it says that go ahead.
I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No, absolutely.
Are you sure none of the scholars talked about this?
Yeah. So
I'm not really someone who's knowledgeable. There's a reason why I keep on looking at him, because he knows more about Islam than me. Right?
Listen, I'm not an educated person at all. I dropped out of school out of the 7th grade. I'm just a man who loves Jesus, And I'll tell you, and I don't want you guys to think I'm trying to trap you guys or get views or anything like that. But I just want, this is a real issue that the Quran needs to answer, and it's just like, that's why I want you guys to think about this, is that it affirms that it's real revelation. And Jesus' teaching is He is God, He did die, and He is coming back for anybody who believes on Him. And I want you guys to know it's that simple. Christ is a greater love. I can see you guys are young men. Let me tell you, me and this man were best friends. And Christ has been the greatest friend I've ever had in my life. He has delivered me from depression, delivered me from suicide, delivered us from addiction, delivered us, and He's brought me out of the pits. Let me tell you today, I believe that, I'm sure you guys probably go through things in life as young men. It's hard to live as young men. But let me tell you today, Jesus don't want to just say go to heaven, but Jesus can give you joy. Jesus can give you peace. But let me tell you, you got to put your faith in Him today. And it might be a hard step to take, but I pray you guys would consider these conversations. Maybe when you guys go home, read the Gospels for yourself. Read Jesus' teachings, and you will see He claimed to be God. And if He is God, and He really did die, then there's a problem. You understand?
Well, as I said, for example, us, we're not really people who search anything in the Bible that much, right? I think he did a little bit of research, but not as much as like the stuff that you're talking about, right? There's a reason why we can't really respond to these statements and questions that you're asking us, right? So that, again, did you ever check if any of the scholars talked about this? If Islam itself has talked about this, aside from the scholars that?
So a lot of the things that people will come to is the only conclusion is that there's really the only thing that they'll try to cling to is that the Bible's been corrupted. And to be honest with you, like, there's no other book in history that has been more historically kept than the Bible. They teach Alexander the Great in schools, right? And we're not here talking about Alexander the Great. You know how many original manuscripts was lying around of Alexander the Great's story? There's like 5 or 7, okay? Of the New Testament alone, we have 4,000 original manuscripts that complement each other, that tell the same story, that Jesus died and he rose back to life. And I would leave you guys with this, because I understand there's questions you guys can't answer. There's things that you guys ain't read the Bible. I haven't read the Quran. There's probably things that you guys could stump me on with the Quran and I wouldn't have an answer for.
I don't want to make it long.
But I will tell you this: no man is willing to die for a lie. And if you want to question Jesus' death and resurrection, because the Quran clearly states that Jesus didn't die on a cross, that the Father swapped him out. Jesus died, and in the time span before he resurrected, he appeared to the disciples in his resurrected body. You could see the nail-scarred hands, and guess what? Every one of those disciples died a gruesome death. Peter was hung on a cross upside down. Some was beheaded. Some was boiled to death. You know what I would tell you? No man's willing to die for a lie. Jesus really died, and he really appeared to those men. So I would tell you guys that he is the way, and he's the only truth. And listen, you guys are so close because you acknowledge him as a prophet, but I want you to know he's God. So would it be all right if we say a prayer with you guys before we close out? Would you be okay with that?
No, I don't think we can, but we appreciate the chance.
Okay. Hey, thank you guys for your time so much.